They're calling it the largest peacetime protest in American history. This Saturday, October 18th, millions are being mobilized to flood American streets. But this isn't protest, it is insurrection. The No Kings movement has been hijacked by the same terror networks putting bounties on federal agents. And we've obtained leaked communications proving that they're stockpiling weapons, coordinating with foreign agitators, and planning synchronized violence across 4,000 locations. The matching signs, identical equipment, military precision. This is a declaration of war disguised as free speech. And they're counting on you to see grandmas with signs while they position armed cells in every major city. This is their end game. Total chaos leading to revolution. They think you're too comfortable to stop them, and prove them wrong. Keep watching. So just like the chaos coming to our streets this Saturday, your financial future faces threats from every direction. Medicare confusion is bankrupting seniors while violent protests destroy our communities. But here's one thing you can control. Chapter makes Medicare simple. In less than 20 minutes, they'll compare every plan available, over 24,000 nationwide, and help you save an average of $1,100 a year. And their advisors are independent, salaried, and they're not commissioned. They work for you and not insurance companies pushing agenda-driven plans like the left pushes their protests. And while radical organizers mobilize millions for destruction, you can mobilize your savings with one phone call. The annual enrollment period is here, and don't let another year pass for paying for coverage that doesn't protect you. So call Chapter at 910-728-4109. That's 910-728-4109. Or visit askchapter.org/next. Take control where you can. So the left's mask is coming off. Watch as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent exposes their coordinated violence network and promises justice for their crimes. Take a look.
And we are going to, as they always say, follow the money. When you see these groups where all the signs match, they have hundreds of the same umbrellas that they're using. After they cause the mayhem, they have the same lasers that they're using to blind our police force. How are they constructed? Because this takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of organization, and we are going to do that. We have started to compile lists, put together networks, and there's a long record here. And we don't know how much of the support's coming in from overseas. We don't know how much being supported by U.S. nonprofits, C3s that give money to C4s. But this is mission critical for us now, just as after 9/11 and Osama bin Laden, the ultimate culprit, was captured. We are operationalizing this here at Treasury, and we are going to track down who is responsible for this. So Charlie's death has set this off, and we are determined not only to honor him, but to keep our country safe and to ensure freedom of speech on both sides. That we can't, as conservatives, we can't be afraid to go out and speak. I know people are canceling speeches. They're having to bring down the size of the rallies. President Trump was millimeters away from death, and he was not deterred, and we're not going to be deterred.
That's because every single person in the administration has a giant backbone. And he said we are operationalizing this at Treasury. They're following the money, the matching signs, the identical umbrellas, the synchronized lasers used to blind police. This takes millions of dollars in funding and military-level coordination. A federal judge in Illinois just ruled that the protective fencing around ICE facilities must come down. And Democrat House Speaker compared it to the Berlin Wall. Watch what happens next.
Officials in Broadview, Illinois are demanding federal authorities remove the additional fencing around the ICE facility immediately. This comes after a federal judge ordered the barrier brought down by midnight local time Tuesday night.
So the Democrats are trying to get the fence removed, so there are thousands of protesters that are rioting right now. You saw it in the first segment. It was them throwing rocks and eggs and tear gas is going off. They're trying to get those, the fencing removed so they can just storm the facility.
Senior correspondent Mike Tobin is in Broadview again tonight.
Violent weekend clashes surrounding the ICE processing facility in Broadview, Illinois, resulted in 22 arrests. This as a U.S. district judge rules that the fence put up as demonstrations grew needs to come down by midnight Tuesday. The judge says it is on municipal land and blocks emergency vehicles. Comparing the fence to the Berlin Wall, the Democratic Illinois House Speaker channeled Ronald Reagan.
Mr. Trump, tear down this fence now.
Oh, that sounded so terrible. Like, where did they even come up with that idea for this? It's so just beyond the worst comparison ever.
Illinois Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy and former Congressman Luis Gutierrez marched up to the fence.
We demand that I be able to access this facility.
Well, I understand your request, but at this point, I can't authorize that visit.
What about the argument that ICE and Border Patrol are simply enforcing the laws that Congress writes?
We passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964, and tens of thousands of people were brutalized during the Civil Rights Act, so we could be judged on the content of our character, not.
They passed the immigration laws back in the 1790s and the 1800s. They reaffirmed it back in the late 1800s, and they did so again in the early 1900s and the 50s and the 70s. These guys are out of their minds. It's only because they want congressional seats that they're willing to ignore all of these violent acts and all the things that they're doing is for congressional seats. These guys are guilty in this.
The color of our skin.
People are being stopped and detained merely because of the way they look. That is illegal. That's unconstitutional.
Meantime, 200 Texas National Guardsmen are stuck on a base in a Chicago suburb. A federal appeals court ruled that the Trump administration has the authority to federalize the Guardsmen, but not to deploy them in a state against the wishes of the governor. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is urging Texas Governor Greg Abbott to bring his troops home.
You ought to get them the heck out of Illinois and send them back so they can protect the state of Texas instead of invading our state.
The Broadview police chief tells us the fence will be replaced by a gate staffed by local law enforcement. The idea is that emergency vehicles can get through. Protesters, in theory anyway, cannot. Brett, back to you.
Mike Tobin, live.
And given what's happened with the local law enforcement, I don't think we could trust them to make sure that that gate stays closed. And they're demanding the fence come down by midnight so violent mobs can attack federal agents. And Texas National Guard troops are trapped on base because a liberal governor won't let them help. But here's where it gets truly sick. Virginia Democrat Jay Jones called for Republicans and their children to die. Glenn Youngkin just dropped the hammer on this violent rhetoric. Take a look.
Yeah, I think this is a very clear reflection on a lack of courage and a lack of morality here, as we have not just Jay Jones, who did say these horrible, horrible things. I mean, he texted that he wanted to put 2 bullets in our former Speaker of the House's head and see his children die, and then a few cops should die as well. And he doesn't have the moral clarity or the courage to step out of this race. And we have Democrat leaders across the state who are trying to pretend like he didn't really say this. And at the end of the day, Virginia voters need to get out and vote. We've seen this race tighten up big time. And as a result, this race is now in play. And we need to get people out to vote. The reality is Abigail Spanberger, who
Had a Republican said the same thing that guy said, it would be on every single news station 24/7. ABC, NBC, all those guys barely covered it. They asked the person running for governor to denounce him. The person running for governor decided to not denounce this person who wished death on somebody by putting 2 bullets in their head. It's insane.
is the Democrat candidate for governor, had 3 chances in a recent debate for her to say that she doesn't support Jay Jones anymore, and she refused to do it. And it just is another window into the calculus of we'll do anything in order to win coming out of the Democrat Party. And finally, Winsome Earl-Sears, who is our Republican lieutenant governor today, has been very clear. She stands for law enforcement, she stands against violence, and she has courage and moral clarity. And that's the choice that's on the ballot right now. And as I said, this race is really tightened up. Polls are showing that. And it's time for folks to get out to the ballots and vote.
Put that in like 2 bullets in the speaker's head, children dying, cops murdered. This is the Democrat candidate for attorney general, and the Democrat gubernatorial candidate refused to denounce him. A Cuban immigrant just explained what Americans are too comfortable to see. This violent revolution playbook has been used before, and it always ends in the same way. Watch.
Go back to your point about leftist violence. You have to understand this is not something new. This is not something that's randomly happening. It happened in China, it happened in Vietnam, it happened in Cuba, which I'm Cuban. So every single time the leftists take over, what do they want? Revolution. To what? Break down the status quo. How do they do that? Not through peace. They do it through revolution. Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, Stalin. Every single time, that's how they do it. And
And what the first step that they always did was disarm the population. You guys support your local Second Amendment chapters.
You know who they use? All of you. They use the university students. They use leftists. The authoritarians, the strongmen, convinced the leftists to fight for them. It happened in Iran where the Ayatollah took over. It happened in Cuba with Castro. They get the leftists to disrupt and cause destabilization. Once they take power, they get rid of all of the leftists that help them get in power. Mao Zedong created the Red Guard. When he got in power, he said, all universities canceled. I want you to get my book, it's called the Little Red Book, put it in your pocket, and go around, and if any teacher has spoken out against me, I want you to tell.
They also took God out of schools. They took God out of people's families. When they do that, they take away the weapons. They take away your ability to fight back. They change the youth, so you're ratting on your parents. This is what they've been trying to do with schools. That's why they reduced the reporting rules and all those other things that are happening. They're following a playbook.
The communist commissar were going to arrest them and kill them. They did that. The army didn't step in. They allowed the protesters and the revolutionaries to do what they want. You know what Mao did after he got power? He said, I don't need any more destabilization. He sent them out into the field to work, and 9 million of them died. That's what he's done. The Shah did it, the same thing to the leftists. The leftists are always, we call them the useful idiots. Not all of them, but the ones who are revolutionary. They are used to destabilize. They go after the young people in universities every single time, hundreds and hundreds of years. This is the same thing happening over again. This is not new. What you're experiencing is not new. It's just new to you. It's new to our age.
It's not new. Guys, it's not new. Mao's Red Guard, Castro's revolutionaries, the Ayatollah's student army, they all use the same tactics. Mobilize the youth, destabilize society, take the guns, seize power, then eliminate the useful idiots who help them. And Republican senators are calling out the No Kings protests for what they are: paid Antifa operations designed to overthrow our republic. Watch.
But again, the No Kings protest, Maria, really frustrating. I mean, this is part of Antifa, paid protesters. It begs the question, who's funding it? But yeah, Democrats want to wait for a big rally of a No Kings protest, when the bottom line is, who's running the show in the Senate? Chuck Schumer's not running the show. The No Kings protesters or organizers are running the show. Is AOC threatening a primary against Chuck Schumer? Is she running the show? But you need a strong leader in the Senate to take control and make decisions. And Chuck Schumer's blown in the breeze. He has no power, no authority, because he's given it up to his primary opponent, potentially in AOC, or to the No Kings protester organizers, and it's shameful.
And
Who's funding it? The same people who funded the Antifa terror networks, the same dark money flowing through the same channels to create chaos. Watch this No Kings organizer accidentally reveal their true nature while trying to sound all patriotic or whatnot. Take a look.
Something amazing and unprecedented is going to happen in this country, the United States of America.
I already don't like this guy. Let me know if you agree in the comments.
This upcoming Saturday, October 18th. This upcoming Saturday, October 18th, will be the largest peacetime protest in American history. Think about that for a minute. This upcoming Saturday, October 18th, millions and millions and millions
of paid Antifa protesters, spit it out,
and millions and millions and millions of Americans will organically take to the streets.
You just say organically? They're passing flyers out and they're paying people to be there. That's not organically.
In some 4,000 neighborhoods, towns, and cities around America.
That's not going to happen in my town.
To just reaffirm that basic American principle that this country was founded upon. No kings.
Does anybody else notice that he looks a lot like Epstein? Let me know in the comments. He looks just like the guy. It's kind of creepy.
Not here. Not in America.
So he said millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of whatever taking to the streets, 4,000 locations, all organic, while matching signs, coordinated messaging, and professional organizers, along with some people that are getting paid. And here's another organizer coaching protesters on their propaganda strategy. So listen carefully to how calculated that this deception is. Take a look.
And it's also funny that they can't actually say no kings. They've got to make some other name up for it because they understand it. They say no kings. How is that objectionable? Right. How could anybody say that that's anything other than the most American thing since apple pie? But I do think we have to hold two things in our head at the same time. One, anybody who's been to a protest this year that's been organized by Indivisible or No Kings has seen moms and grandmas and kids and dogs and funny chants, and it was a feeling of joyous power out in the streets. And on the other hand, we've got an authoritarian regime who wants to crack down on free speech. So we should show up in force, and we should take care. We should attend the security training briefings. We should attend the how to de-escalate briefings and trainings. We should do that work so that if anything happens at these protests, we're ready to do it. But if your First Amendment rights are under attack and you decline to show up because of those threats, you don't have First Amendment rights. So if anybody is out there watching this and is like, well, I don't know, I've never been to a protest, or I'm hearing a lot of gnarly stuff from this regime and maybe I won't come out, let me tell you, it's going to be fun, it's going to be powerful, and it's going to be part of history.
So moms and grandmas, kids and dogs, human shields for violent revolutionaries, security training, de-escalation briefings. This isn't a protest. It's a paramilitary operation disguised as a family picnic. And they can't even say no kings without inventing new names because they know how anti-American their message sounds. And this Saturday, they're planning the most American thing since apple pie. You know, except real Americans don't coordinate with cartels putting bounties on federal agents' heads. So if you guys got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this Saturday, they're coming for your republic in 4,000 locations and millions of people in the street, all coordinated by the same monsters who put bounties on federal agents' heads. And they're calling it no kings. But what they mean is no Trump, no America, and no Constitution. And Virginia Democrat Jay Jones wants Republicans' children's dead. They're not that's not even hyperbole. He texted it. He put it in writing. 2 bullets for the speaker, death for cops, and murder for kids. And this is their true face when the mask slips. Mao used students, Castro used revolutionaries. Now Democrats are using Antifa dressed as cartoon characters while the Treasury tracks their blood money. And every organic protest has matching signs, identical equipment, military precision, and Soros is writing the checks. And Democrats, they're providing cover, and the media is calling it democracy. And we don't live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic, but they're calling it a democracy while they plan your destruction. So here's my question for you in the chat. When protesters openly coordinate with cartels to kill federal agents, is it time to deploy the military? Let me know yes or no. So this is insurrection disguised as protest. They're betting you won't fight back and prove them wrong. Check out our merch shop.